Hide your kids. Lock the doors. You're listening to HR's most dangerous podcast. Chad Sowash and Joel Cheeseman are here to punch the recruiting industry right where it hurts. Complete with breaking news, brash opinion, and loads of snark. Buckle up, boys and girls. It's time for the Chad and Cheese podcast.
Oh, yeah. It's National Bad Poetry Day. There once was a man from Nantucket. I'll let you guys Google the rest of that one. Are you listening? Yes, you are listening to the Chad and Cheese podcast. This is your co-host, Joel Edgar Allen Cheeseman.
And this is Chad, the Sugar Rush is Over Sowash.
And on this week's show, iCIMS CEO says, see ya. The EEOC chalks up a win against AI and college degrees. We don't need no stinking college degrees.
Get out of here.
Let's do this.
Hospitality is the heart of our society. It brings people together to share great food, drinks, and experiences. But successfully managing a restaurant or hotel is no easy feat. That's where Harry comes in. Harry is the frontline employee experience platform that helps you build, manage, and engage great teams. With Harry, managers can easily find and hire top talent, manage timekeeping, and communicate with employees at any time from any place. Candidates and team members can quickly and efficiently apply for jobs, swap shifts, and access important information entirely from their mobile devices. And Harry's robust employee engagement tools make team members feel more connected than ever. With Harry, as an owner or operator, you get a bird's eye view of your business, from turnover cost, labor cost, employee sentiment, compliance risk, and team performance. Run your business better by understanding the power of your people. Because when your team is the heart of your business, Harry is the heartbeat. See how it transforms your business.
What's up, man?
What is
Got
up?
your Buckeyes jersey on. For those of you watching on YouTube can see that. If you haven't checked us out on YouTube, please do so at youtube.com/@ChadCheese.
Yes.
There you go.
Very nice. Threw that in there. That's nice. That's nice. Dude, I'm pretty stoked. Couple of things though. I think right out of the gate you wanted to throw some love out to Maui and Hawaii.
Yes, it would behoove us to mention the fires in Maui, the death and despair. My first marriage was in Maui, so there is a certain place in my heart for the island. But just the visuals and the stories are just horrible. The one I heard recently was a guy and his dog caught in his car, burned to death. The guy suffered greater burns than the dog, which indicates that the guy was trying to save his dog or protect his dog. Stories like that just pull at the heartstrings, rip your heart out.
Okay, enough of that.
If you can, there are a lot of donation platforms and charities that are helping out Maui. If you can, go on the web, search some causes that you're in favor of, and open up the pocketbooks if you can. But beautiful place. Very sad what's going on in Maui. So just wanted to shine a light on that for the listeners.
Yes. Find a reputable charity and get some cash to them. Get some clothes to them. Get to whatever you can. I think that's the key.
Stay away from the scams on Twitter.
On X.
Don't go to an @ handle and give money.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Don't do that. Don't do that.
Speaking of football,
yes.
in your football jersey, and football is right around the corner, but we have some Women's World Cup that's going down. We got Spain and England, two traditional powerhouses. I'm assuming with your Portuguese heritage and real estate empire that you're leaning Spain, or is there a rivalry there that you hate Spain? I don't know.
I definitely, I love Spain. I mean, I go to La Liga games when I'm there. So, I mean, the Spanish women look great. The Brits are having some injury issues, as we said in the green room. And I would love to see Spain win. That would be pretty great. But Portuguese, not too fond of the Spanish, but I think they would rather see Spain win than England. England is kind of the US they're like the mini America over in Europe. So if anybody's hated the most in Europe, I'm going to go ahead and say it's probably the UK.
More than the US?
No, I'm just saying in the U.S.
So the rankings are U.S. most hated, UK right in that number 2 spot.
Yeah, depending. Yes.
Okay.
I would
Followed
say,
by probably the Danes or somebody, the Swedes. I don't know.
And you're going to follow along because you've only been on the Brit train since we talked
64% ancestry.com can't be wrong. I got to root for the Lionesses. The Lioness Eye. I don't know what the.
I just want to see a great match, and there's been some pretty great matches. So can't wait.
And Messi keeps tearing it up. That dude may officially bring soccer to the U.S.
He's going to prove you wrong, because you said there was no way that even Messi can bring. And I think that, like, back in the Beckham days, there's kind of like been this nudge of soccer in the U.S. where it's gotten more popular. Now we can watch Premier League on TV when we couldn't back then. La Liga and even Bundesliga, which I love watching all that.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a lot more popular. And then you got the GOAT. I mean, this guy is the greatest of all time. There's no fucking, and he just is. He's here in the U.S. He is lighting things up, and he is filling fucking stadiums, and that to me is just amazing.
Yeah, you've seen Billy Madison, Adam Sandler, what is it, dodgeball, or he's just destroying. That's basically what it looks like. The friendlies that are played when Man U comes over, or Chelsea, like, I think that's cool. And apparently the demand is so high on Apple that there's rumors of Apple buying ESPN, because there's so much appetite for the soccer that's on Apple TV. So anyway,
it's amazing.
That's rumors that I'm hearing on CNBC.
Shout out!
Let's get to some shout outs, shall we? We got a lot of content to cover on this week's show. So I'm going to give a shout out to robo-taxis.
Oh God.
In California. If you haven't heard, California regulators have voted in favor of robo-taxi operators expanding their paid driverless services in the city of San Francisco, a major milestone toward commercializing the technology. You can guess what happened next, Chad. Just one day after the vote, driverless vehicles brought traffic in parts of San Francisco to a standstill. A group of around 10 robo-taxis stopped in the middle of a city street for about 15 minutes with their hazard lights on, while cars with human drivers were stuck behind and between driverless ones with no option but to wait until the situation resolved. Robo-taxi company Cruise blamed the issue on, quote, wireless bandwidth constraints due to a nearby music festival. So things are off to a great start. Shout out to robo-taxis in beautiful San Francisco.
Oh, love that. Oof. My first shout out is going to be somewhat of a rant. Okay.
I like these.
So
it's been a while. Get it out, baby.
It has. Shout out to all the people saying the market is down and tightening up. Okay. So we've both heard this. We've heard this. We've heard it on TV shows, on podcasts, even on fucking calls that we've both been on. Okay, kids, listen up. The market was fucking flooded with ridiculous amounts of cash for years, and that was not normal. We saw an amazing amount of startups created. Yes. Unicorns fed with mountains of cash. Yes. TAMs exploded. Vaporware narratives grew all across this fine land. That wasn't normal. What we're feeling today, this is normal. And because of that, sugar rush, as we predicted for years on this very show, we're going to see consolidations, dead unicorns, and a vast amount of startups that were just going to quickly fade away. But this is great news, that companies who aren't solving real problems are just vaporware or overhyped platforms and horrible go-to-markets that we've seen left and right. Well, they won't be around long, because only the incredibly well-disciplined are going to survive. So the market has been noisy and crowded, but on the positive side, we're going to get a much better market full of products that are more honed, more focused, and just better for the end user. So shout out to all of those startups out there who are honing those skills, and they're not spending cash like drunken sailors.
And we will continue with the fun-filled layoff reports every week when the shit hits the fan.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
There'll be fadeaway reports, much like Juneco. They're still not back.
Fadeaway
Juneco,
acquisition.
.co. Yeah. Jesus.
Okay, Chad. Sometimes you want to just get in that DeLorean and go back to the future and make new decisions or different choices from days in the past. And if we could go back to 2005 in our own industry, Chad, I bet Monster and Career Builder might have thought twice about letting their content go freely to Indeed for that heroin drip of traffic. Well, fast forward to today, we see where Indeed is, and now we see where Monster and Career Builder are.
Exactly.
The media, and particularly journalism, is in a similar situation. Back in the same time frame, they had Google sharing their stuff freely on Google. Well, Google made buckets of cash. New York Times, Washington Post, LA Times, etc., faded into the afterglow of big profits. Yes. Well, apparently they've learned their lesson, Chad. My shout out goes out to the New York Times. This week has reported that they are basically blocking AI. So OpenAI, companies that are using their content to build large language models. Well, that's a threat to New York Times. Hopefully they've learned their lesson. They've blocked their content from those services. I'm sure they would give it up for a fee, though, Chad. And I'm sure it's a fee that Google's Bard or Microsoft, who's an investor in OpenAI, would freely write some checks to get access to the New York Times content. Shout out to them. And if you're a New York Times shareholder, that's probably good news, too, in the long run. Shout out to the New York Times.
Yes, and if you haven't heard of Google's Gemini project, that is beyond Bard. So go check that out. And that project won't be getting New York Times.
What's it called again?
Gemini. Which you and I are both.
From both Geminis, yes. We should know. We should know.
So I created an office hours session on my calendar a couple of years ago so that startups who reach out looking for advice could get 30 minutes with me. So I dedicated about 5 hours a week to those sessions. And then the last 3 months, requests have gone crazy. They've exploded on my calendar. So I wanted to give a shout out to all the eager startups out there who are digging in. They're hyper-focused. They're looking for advice. They're looking for answers. If it takes a few weeks for me to get back with you, my apologies, but I will get back with you. I'll get you on my calendar. In the meantime, soak up these weekly episodes, kids.
All right.
How am I just now hearing about your open office hours? Like, can you sign up at chadcheese.com? Do I need to DM you? Like what?
I didn't make it something that was public as of yet because I had so many startups just naturally coming to me. LinkedIn, Twitter, I mean, wherever they could find me, they would message me. And I automatically had just a link set up to office hours, and it would be nice and easy. So it gave me an opportunity to meet some of the new startups that are out there, get some ideas of what was going on, those types of things, and give them at least a little nugget of advice before they came on firing squad possibly and got shot to shit.
And this is free of charge to them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you were flooded before, we've just talked about it on the show. I'm sure the calls will stop after we talk about this one. All right. Let's get to free shit.
Yes.
Which also is free of charge here on the show, thanks to our generous sponsors. If you haven't signed up, you got to go to chadcheese.com. Our listeners know this. Click the free link. Give us your information. We're talking free T-shirts. Really soft plush, top 100% grade A T-shirts. Yeah. Tri-blend. Really nice T-shirts from our friends at JobGet. We've got bourbon. Chad and I each select a bourbon of choice, and we send it to you. That's from our friends at Tex Kernel. The winner of this month for whiskey goes to Cody Nelson. We've got beer from our friends at Aspen Tech Labs. Listener Eddie O'Neill is enjoying some free beer on us this month.
Nice.
And Rum has partnered with us. They want to send a birthday each month, a very nice bottle of rum with plum. Get it, Chad? That's what we do here. We market shit on the show, Chad. But you can't win if you don't play the game. And you got to go to chadcheese.com, click that free link, and give us your information for a chance at all these wonderful goodies.
And did you see Chris Cleveland gave us a shout out on LinkedIn after taking the Plum assessment? Because we always throw out there, hey, if you haven't had your Plum assessment, it's free. It's kind of cool. Gives you little insights on yourself. Apparently, he got his Plum assessment, and he says it was spot on. So all you have to do is go to plum.io, check that bad boy out.
There you go. You mentioned Plum. Plum is, we'll get to travel. I don't know if you want to jump to that yet.
No,
the shaker hat's coming on. Again, our YouTube viewers know about this. All right, let's start breaking down our travels coming up, Chad.
Oh, kids, we are 4 weeks out from RECFEST. I'm starting to get the shivers right now.
Yep.
Where the Chad and Cheese will be emceeing the Disrupt stage all day on day one at Bicentennial Park in Nashville, Tennessee, with special guests, Lynn and Tracy from the Talent Rebel cast, and those crazy Canucks, Serge and Shelley from the Recruitment
Don't wreck our
Flex
show, you
podcast. They're going to wreck our show. I guarantee
they
it.
are going to wreck our show.
If you haven't been to RECFEST before, Joel, what is RECFEST like?
RECFEST, it's the first time in America. We know the show very well in England. I'm guessing the Brits are bringing the game that they have in Nebworth to Nashville. We're talking circus tents. We're talking Ferris wheels. I'm still lobbying for the mechanical bull.
No, they're having a mechanical bull.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
All right. See, this is a conference that listens to the fans, they listen and they follow through. So mechanical bulls, tents, great food. I'm assuming some food trucks will be there with some great Nashville hot chicken. I'm hoping, Chad. Nashville hot chicken, some barbecue, I'm sure. Good stuff. But Chad, every good party needs a damn good pre-party. Is there one in town? Have you heard?
So the Chad and Cheese want to ensure that RECFEST starts out with a bang, bang, if you will.
Nice.
Most people
What's
don't
that
even know
about?
Most people don't even know what that tin roof rusted means. You should look it up.
The kids.
I see, but see what I did there? Bang, bang. Anyway, on September 12th from 7 to 9, we're going to be at the Tin Roof, a bar right on Broadway. That's where everything happens, kids. We're 50 lucky listeners. That's 50 lucky listeners.
That's exclusive.
We'll get to enjoy free drinks, free food, Nashville music, and a little up close and personal time with the Chad and Cheese. None of this, kids, would be possible without our friends over at Aaron App and plum.io.
Yes.
Are you feeling the pre-FOMO yet?
I'm feeling it. And Chad, the rumor is Nashville hot chicken lollipops. Oh my God. Are you kidding me? Can you say careless whisper to my belly, Chad? Nashville hot chicken lollipops. And we're not talking about just beer and wine, Chad. No. That's not how we roll, baby. We're talking whiskey. We're talking bourbon, whiskey, Scotch, Irish. Buffalo Trace, everything. You're going to be happy at this party, Chad. It's not even live yet. If you're listening and you're a big fan, you're going to be in Nashville. Hit Chad and I up on the DMs. We'll see if we can fit you in on that Evite list and get you in this party. But it's going to be an awesome time on Broadway. Just the right start to the party, just to get your beak wet. Get your beak wet, get your mind right, and it's going to be a hell of a time. And like Chad said, great sponsors with Aaron and Plum footing the bill for the good time.
Yes.
Really? Can you feel the
birthday
tension
time
in the air right now? I know I can. I can feel it all the way down in my plums.
Sorry. Talk of Plum, man. I can't stay away from the soundbite. So another trip around the sun for some of our listeners. That includes Sean Kelleher, Brian Thompson, who you might remember we met a couple Canadians.
Don't wreck our show, you hoser.
The last time we were both in Nashville, and we had we had some hot chicken.
Yeah.
Learned about RECFEST and met a couple
Hattie
crazy
B's.
Canadians, Brad and Brian. Happy birthday to Brian Thompson. Also, Marley Huckabee, Pete Succi, Alex Campo, Julie Personius, Brittany Kaiser, Chris Long, Stephen Fogarty, Richard Cho, and Jerry the Godfather Crispin.
Nice.
All celebrating another trip around the sun. And speaking of trips, Chad.
Sean Kelleher and I actually were together, 18-year-olds down in Panama together when we were in the Army together back in the day. Yeah. So yeah, big shout out to Sean. Happy birthday, buddy.
Okay, I love it. So you have a football jersey on. I got my Factory Fix T-shirt on, Chad. We got to talk about fantasy football, one of my favorite things each year.
Yes.
We get 12 guys together. We play fantasy football every week. We're going to do the power rankings. What do you call it in soccer? The something board,
the league table.
The league table. We'll read the league table.
The tables.
The tables. But I can't wait. I love fantasy football. I love football. So shout out to Factory Fix. Wearing my T-shirt. Maybe we can get some T-shirts for everyone in the league this year. Everyone that's signed up. Stay tuned on that one. But always excited for a little fantasy football with my real football.
Exactly. A couple of real quick events. We've got GEMS 2023 Virtual Talent Summit that's happening September 20th. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be at HR Tech Mandalay Bay, October. Joel and I are going to be in the Fuel 50 booth 2 days. Two days in a row, right? Probably you might be able to come over and get some beer from us. I don't know. We got to sneak it past the guards. Anyway, all of these wonderful events that we're going to, go to chadcheese.com/events or just go to chadcheese.com, click events in the upper right-hand corner and register, baby. Love to see you there. Topics.
Holy shit. We had 20 minutes of shout outs. People are going to hate us for this episode. All right.
That was good.
All right.
Stuff.
But we got some good blood in the streets for the first story, everybody. Oof. All right. November of last year, iCIMS announced Brian Provost would lead the company, replacing CEO Steve Lucas, who had been CEO since 2020. If my math is right, that's less than a year for the latest CEO, Chad, with no official announcement yet. Details are sparse. But Chad, what's your take, and what have you heard about this news out of iCIMS?
I literally just received an official announcement, and then we'll talk a little bit about kind of like the impact on this bad boy. So this is from iCIMS. Brian Provost has resigned from his position as CEO of iCIMS, a decision that he made for personal reasons. A search is underway for a new CEO who can help pave the way for our next phase of growth and innovation. There's a lot more, but that pretty much contextualizes what happened. This was not designed, kids. This was not designed. I right out of the gate, we had people pinging us saying, "Oh, look what happened. They must be down. They kicked him out already." Literally, I think it was Monday morning or Monday or Tuesday morning. It was early this week. I got on the phone with PR. This person was on vacation. She had no clue. And this is not how iCIMS works. This is not how Vista works. If something's happening and it's designed, then there will be this smart rollout, right? This was not. They were shocked. They did not know what happened. So I don't know what's happening. Hopefully that Brian and his family are okay. That's again, hopefully everybody's okay. But this is not something that was designed.
Yeah, we have some audio from the investor meeting following this announcement.
No, God, please, no.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
So, a little backstory. iCIMS was owned by the same guy for a long time, got a big investment, and they brought a new CEO. And the idea was IPO, roll this baby out, and then the pandemic happened. And then inflation happened, and the market shit dump happened, right? So Lucas, who was there for 3 years, guy was at Marketo, had the marketing chops to kind of take this thing to the next level. Mm-hmm. He left last year, and Brian came in, who had sold a previous company called Ascentus to UKG, and I had opined at the time, and our prediction show said,
yes,
iCIMS will sell to UKG, because if you want to sell, if you can't go IPO, sell the company to a big dog like UKG. And what better way to do that than to have the guy that's already sold something to that company?
Yeah.
So
connections.
Personal health, family well-being aside, that's a different story. But as it is, how I see this is Brian got in there. They weren't going to go IPO for probably 1 to 2 years. Didn't want to wait around. Talk to UKG, talk to some other buyers, I'm sure, and realize like this is not happening. And if I can't sell this thing, if I'm not cashing out an IPO, then why stick around? And thus the exit. It is very odd that people were blindsided by this, that there wasn't a sort of nice runway, someone to come in as soon as he was out. It looks like the lights were on and no one was home, and there's push the panic button. But this is not good news for iCIMS. I'm sure we'll get more information as it trickles out, but just on the surface, this looks bad for everybody.
Yeah, I don't think it happened the way that you think it did. I don't think he was looking at IPO. I don't think he was looking at sale and everything was souring. I don't think it had anything to do with that, because if it did, as a professional, which he is, he would have backed out and they would have had a designed rollout of him leaving, right? And they would have had somebody to backfill ASAP. So I think this is something that's I don't want to say a more akin to an emergency, but you don't have somebody pull out and eject from an organization like this, because I mean that's just the most unprofessional thing to do in the world. But if it's family, which is much more important than business, or it is your personal health, which is again more important than business, then you hit that fucking eject button.
Yeah, it definitely reeks of emergency. Had no other choice. This was something I had, I couldn't get out of. So,
but what does
that's
Vista
the case?
do?
Our heart and thoughts go out to him and his family.
What does Vista do?
It's a rough spot to be in the industry, and a lot of companies are going through this I don't know, no man's land of no IPO, no new money. What are we going to do? No buyers, and iCIMS I think is in that category. But
so they go back to their portfolio of CEOs of all the companies that they've pushed money into and all the acquisitions that they've made or had made or what have you.
They pick up the phone and they call our boy Amon Brar and say, "Can you come out of retirement, baby? Come out to Edison, New Jersey, and take her." No, maybe Al. No, Al probably wouldn't want to take up. But
Al doesn't want to do that. No,
they have a stable of folks.
They have a portfolio. I mean,
and they probably have an ATS full of potential CEOs. Who knows? They're using Canada ID to comb the database for potential CEOs.
Keep them warm.
Maybe.
Fuck.
Stuff. All right, let's get to our next story. Harvard Business Review, also known as the HBR, and our friends at Paradox have conducted research on the impact of AI in recruiting. Their study found that 97% of those using automated technologies in hiring reported positive outcomes, including more effective hiring and reduced candidate drop-off. The report also highlighted that 91% of decision makers believe AI and automation are crucial for long-term business success. Chad, your take on this new study from our friends at Harvard and Paradox.
I believe this report is telling anyone with half a brain what they already know, right? And so
people listen to our show anyway.
Yeah, anybody who has half a brain kind of gets this. So here are my top 3 reasons why AI and automation in hiring are imminent, and it's actually backed by this report. Number 1, humans can't scale fast enough to provide a great experience for candidates. So the black hole sucks. We know that. And it's damaging brands left and right. Number 2, on the flip side, it's hard to retain great recruiters when they are saddled with mundane tasks like scheduling interviews. So this will help recruiter retention. And number 3, the market is more fluid today than it ever has been. It's moving faster, ups and downs, side to side. I mean, it's all over the place. And we need systems that can reflect that and that can meet the ever-changing market instead of stagnant tech stacks, which is exactly what we've had for years. So those are my 3 top reasons why this just makes sense. And I think everybody sees it coming. In the report, 92% said that organizations need to invest more in talent acquisition to remain competitive. No shit. It's called talent acquisition. We need talent to be competitive. If we don't have talent, then we're fucked. 46% cited screening and assessments as the task or the tech they most want to improve in the hiring process. They should probably check out plum.io, followed by applicant communications at 39%. Funny thing here, just 4% said that their organization is currently very effective at hiring talent it needs. Yeah, no shit. Our industry is slow as fuck. And we have process methodologies that literally go back to pre-ATS. I mean, we're talking about paper shit. I mean, literally they took papers and they went, put this electronically into our system, right? Yeah. I mean, we're still that far behind.
Yeah. Yeah. 4% saying that their shit is innovative means there's 96% of the market that's ready to buy your product, which is great news for Paradox. By the way, did you have a list? Did you have a list of things to say? Yes. Like, you know what they say about your list?
60% of the time, it works every time.
Every time. Yeah.
All right. So this study involved
batting average, by the way.
300. It's not bad. It's Hall of Fame numbers, but free throw percentage not so good. Their study involved 326 senior leaders.
Yeah.
So these are the people who write the checks, the people that care about the metrics, care about engagement, care about the black hole and getting rid of the black hole and worried about engagement. So it would make sense that the people they asked would have such high numbers and percentages of favorability towards this. My question becomes, let's ask what the franchise owner thinks. Let's ask what the candidate thinks. Those would be much more interesting numbers, because what we're seeing, and we will talk about this at the end of the show, there's a growing number of stories about misscheduling, miscommunication, tech breakdown, just perceptions being out of line with what reality is with job seekers and business owners. So we talked about this. We talked about the article, I think, out of Fortune or wherever. Like, a lot of this is growing pains. A lot of this is like there'll be bumps in the road. But it would be interesting to see if they asked job seekers how they felt about the process. It might be great, but I haven't seen anything that shows me all job seekers are 100% behind chatbots and talking to robots. 100% of all franchise owners are on board with this technology. That would be a different number, I think, than the 326 senior executives that they questioned on this survey.
Job seekers, asking job seekers anything is fucking worthless, because first and foremost, they're doing it once in a while and they have really no idea on what the standard is. We know the standard shit, and those talent acquisition professionals do. Now, franchise owners, I bet if you started asking them questions around trying to get people in, scheduling, those types of things, I bet they'd be on board. I'd be interested in that. But the job seeker side of the house, a lot of those surveys that I see weekly and we get flooded with on job seeker surveys, they're fucking ridiculous and they're worthless. They are. It's like asking my sister about fucking nanotechnology. She'll give you what she thinks, but she has no fucking background or idea or standard to even understand it.
Chad, let me remind you that we are a podcast of the people. We listen to the people, Chad.
And our people are the recruiters.
It matters when one job seeker that's had a bad experience goes to TikTok and hundreds of thousands, if not 1 million plus people see this and drag your brand through the mud. That matters. It should matter to brand managers. It should matter to marketers. It should matter to recruiters and people in our business. So to say that job seekers don't matter, social media says they do matter, because people embrace this stuff and run with it, and it can be very detrimental to your brand. Let me bring out Bud Light as an example of what social media can do.
The Forbes article. I mean, the hack job on the Forbes article that we talked about last week. Yeah.
Yep. Let's move from Forbes to Bloomberg Law, one of my favorite publications, Chad, as you can guess. The EEOC settled its first AI-based hiring discrimination case. Let me repeat that. Its first discrimination case against iTutor Group to the tune of $365,000. The company allegedly programmed its recruitment software to reject older applicants. The story didn't say what old was defined as. I guess you can use your imagination on that. However, the secrecy inherent to AI tools make it challenging for job seekers to even identify discrimination and report it to the EEOC in the first place. Employment attorneys say the agency is fighting an uphill battle as it typically relies on job seekers and employees to flag potential bias. Despite the EEOC's emphasis on addressing AI bias, there hasn't been any known litigation on the issue by the commission aside from this case on iTutor Group settlement. Chad, what's your take on this uphill battle for the EEOC?
Yeah, I mean, that had nothing to do with AI. That had to do with stupid humans programming the system to do stupid shit. I mean, if a human was there and they were taking resumes from older people and they saw that they saw the age, or they actually saw them, then they would just throw them in the waste can, right? So that's just dumb. That has nothing to do with AI. That has to do with stupid humans. One thing I thought was interesting, quote from the article: many AI tools which are becoming increasingly popular in HR departments are trained on historical data that contains built-in biases, end quote. Was it a bad bias or a good bias? In this case, it wasn't a bias at all. It was a stupid decision. The Amazon example was obviously a bad bias because it kicked out all females for tech roles. But you can also say that they're a good bias if that bias has created a diverse talent pool in the end product in the hiring process. So you've got to remember, when you start using AI and automation to scale, you're in effect handling more candidates because your ability to scale with AI and automation. The new ability to scale also scales your bias, meaning companies should see the bias, good or bad, much faster because the sample sizes are much larger. The key here for every single hiring company out there is auditing. Having an audit expert on staff or just a phone call away, having frequent and regular audits, and engaging with the EEOC and OFCCP to see if, to just demonstrate that you're trying to actually work through with some of these different measures. I mean, I've worked with major Fortune 500 companies from all over the world with the OFCCP, on the OFCCP side of the house, in building the National Labor Exchange. And many of the biggest brands in the world had great relationships with the government auditors, while some companies tried to hang in the shadows, hoping they didn't get noticed. You're going to get noticed, which is why the smart companies have proactive outreach and proactive auditing. This is incredibly important. We're not going to get by with the vendor did it, or the algorithm went awry. If you're not watching your kid and your kid walks into the street and gets hit by a car, that's your fault.
Well, that escalated quickly. So this is a good time to mention we're doing a thing with Jim next week with EEOC Commissioner Keith Sonderling. And I think this is a fascinating issue. I'm no lawyer. I only read Bloomberg Law when it comes up on my feed. But this seems to me like a real nasty game of whack-a-mole. Historically, yes, whistleblowers came to the EOC, told them about what their companies were doing. Obviously, if more people came out, that raised the red flag that much more. If it's harder and harder for whistleblowers to know what the hell is going on, then does the flow of reporting decrease to the EOC? That's something I'd love to ask our friend Keith Sonderling. Is the EEOC creating any technology around applying to jobs in a scaled fashion where they can do it quickly to see, like, can we trip up a company's AI to discriminate against us, whether it's birthday or where they graduated or something like their name? That would be interesting to know if the EEOC is doing stuff like that, because I think their ability to scale and find discrimination cases is going to take technology and not just people reporting what's going on. The other thing that's intriguing to me is there was a story this week about an AI tool that has the capability to extract passwords at a 95% predictability just by someone typing on a keyboard. yes, my little brain can't fathom that, but that's the kind of AI that's being created. So if you're what if we based who we're going to hire based on how fast they type, what they're typing, how many mistakes they make as they're typing, if they're typing? That's the kind of thing that we're looking at. And how do you report that? How do you find that? Like, that becomes a really interesting problem. And I just think it's a scary game of whack-a-mole that the EEOC is going to have to play as this technology outruns our ability to know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because we've actually talked to, some quote unquote experts who have gone through and done and actually did what you did, right? They applied for jobs.
Yep.
That's not how you do it, because you can't scale that way. That's an anecdote, right? So what you do is you have the data, and I've been through these audits before. The thing is, the numbers are the numbers, whether those numbers are 10x or not, it doesn't matter. You're still going to have that pipeline, and the continuing way that we're auditing today, and we're going through audits today, they can continue because the audits are the same. It's just the point in which we're finding the bias, in which all the females are getting knocked out, right? That's part of the process. So yeah, they're not going to be going through much like you described. That's anecdotal. They're going to be going through the data, and that's what they've done for years. They will continue to do that. They've got laws in the books that demonstrate that. So I don't see that as a problem. I see that as for the EEOC, I see it as a problem for companies to be able to keep up with it. So they need to audit themselves more frequently to ensure that if they do have algorithms in place and they are based on any type of behavior whatsoever, then they can start to have signals that are indicators that say, hey, we need to check this out.
I'm glad you said females knocked out and not
Just
knocked
the
up.
tip.
Let's take a quick break and talk some more news. All right, Chad, a company we never talk about, but is a public company, and we probably should talk about them more, is in the news. Recruiter.com Group is selling intellectual property, including the domain recruiter.com, to RPO company JobMobs. The deal involves a $1.5 million cash payment at closing, an additional $250,000 after 90 days, and a 10% stake in JobMobs for Recruiter.com shareholders. The two companies have agreed to share quarterly profits starting in Q1 2024 and have entered a 3-year services agreement with Recruiter.com Group, managing online services like job boards and their recruiter marketplace. Chad, any thoughts on the Recruiter.com JobMobs deal?
Hey, the best thing about Recruiter.com is the domain. The rest of it just seems like the island of misfit toys. I know they've been around for a while. I couldn't tell you what they do. I mean, it's all over the place for me. So, I mean, I think I would use them almost as an example for many startups that are out there, is don't do business like that. I mean, because they're all over the place, and how can I not know what the fuck that company is doing? A company named Recruiter.com that's had acquisitions. That is, I mean, it just, to me, it is one of the strangest animals that has been in our space for a very long time. And I'm surprised they're still alive.
So this is a public company, but don't get excited, people. This is a 25-cent penny stock. It's up 25% on this news, but it didn't have far to go to get to 20%. This was a $30 stock not that long ago, but they've had reverse stock splits. Most recently is 2021. It's just a crappy business. It's a weird ride of like acquisitions, restructuring, selling IP. They just sold their healthcare component to somebody. Miles Jennings, who's the, I think, founder, CEO, I've known for a long time, nice guy, but you're right. Like for a show that covers this industry, we know very little, if not anything, about this company. Like their marketing sucks. They never reach out to us with news. I only knew about this news because I went and looked up this news story and then found out all the crazy shit that they've been doing for the last 5 to 7 years. Look, G2 for reviews is kind of the go-to. So I went to G2 to see the kind of reviews recruiter.com has. They have one fucking review. One review of someone that uses their services on G2.
Did Miles do that review?
It's anonymous. It's anonymous.
Okay.
Who knows?
Okay.
Like via Glassdoor, they have an overall rating of about 3.1 out of 5 based on 45 reviews left by employees. 54% of employees would recommend. So like half would recommend working there. 48% had a positive outlook for the company. So basically we're talking like Joe Biden territory for favorability with the employees. This is not a good look for a company. It's not really good signs for a prosperous, growing company that you should invest in. And to me, this is just the wheels falling off and getting rid of the domain, which you said is probably the one thing that they have that's of value. Just does not bode well for the future of this company. I suspect they'll be delisted at some point from the public markets. But whether or not we'll know about it, who knows? Because they've never reached out before. Maybe we should add them to the news feed and see if anything comes over. But otherwise, this company is a big nothing burger for the most part. But we do like Miles. We do like Miles. All right, next story. Let's talk about tech jobs and college degrees. LinkedIn research shows that job advertisements in the UK not requiring a college degree increased by 90% between 2021 and 2022. The trend towards skills-based hiring is exemplified by companies like Google, Microsoft, IBM, and Apple removing degree requirements to increase diversity in their talent pools. The emphasis on skills over degrees has raised concerns for recent graduates who are racking up record amounts of debt in the process. Chad, I know you have a few thoughts on college degrees and the need for one or not.
So degrees for many jobs have long been a filtering mechanism for talent acquisition professionals. Hiring companies had too many candidates applying for jobs and they couldn't manage it. So instead of building more efficient tech stacks or processes, they would add a bachelor's degree or master's degree to the job requirement to cut the amount of quote unquote qualified candidates. So now, guess what, kids? The pendulum swings the other way, and hiring companies are falling flat on their face. To me, none of this makes sense. It didn't make sense in the first place when we started to see this happen, because we started to see college degrees going up, and that was when the market was different, and we had more job seekers than we had jobs, right? Yep. But when it swings back around the other way, which it has, you're fucking yourself. So instead of just fixing it, this is like a Band-Aid on a sunken chest wound. And that's what happens. You find yourself slammed down on your face.
So I'm old enough to remember the days where if you didn't have a college degree, just don't even fucking try or think about applying to most jobs, frankly, that were out there. The world has changed significantly. We have online learning. We have gig economies. We have greater competition for employers to where they should relax the degree mandate on candidates. I think the diversity play was big in that 2020, 21, 22 timeframe. I think maybe they said they were doing that for that, but I think competition was such that if they didn't remove that, they would find it much harder to hire people. You can get degrees, you can get credentialed online, particularly for developing jobs, engineering, cybersecurity, for example. Like you can get a basic degree certification for that and get a job, a well-paying job pretty quickly. So high school graduates are figuring out, well, I don't have to go to college. I can go for 6 months or a year and have a job at a pretty nice position as a cybersecurity professional or whatever. Your kids are out of the nest. I have kids that are entering, late high school to college areas, and my advice to them is, I still think long term that that brands are important. To have something where people are lazy, people like shorthand, people want to see a LinkedIn profile that has a college that I recognize to know, okay, this person is educated, or this person is a certain skill set, or has achieved this certain level of success in life. I think for the tier 2 schools, for the small liberal arts schools that cost a fortune, look, no one in California knows what DePaul or Hanover is, right? And those schools cost a ton of money. If you go out of state, just a state school, it's 3x if my kids go to Wisconsin versus, Indiana. So I think, like, for me, and this is just a personal story, if you're a college that isn't a brand name, I think that the value of what you have, unless it's a real specific skill like a Rose Holman for engineering, that your value to people is only going to go down, because it used to be a day where you just had to have a degree. The people that would go to a state school, a second tier school, that would have normally stayed 4 years just because they had to have the degree to have the job, they don't need that anymore. So those schools in the middle, I think, are going to suffer quite a bit as people need them less and less, and certainly don't need the bill and the headaches that come with those degrees going into the future. So to me, this is a natural evolution of kind of how the educational system is going to shake out.
You're a little biased too. You have a wife that's a professor, and your kids can prospectively go to school for free, which is not the case for most, and going into debt, which is a wonderful thing for your family. But for most Americans, it's just not the case.
So it's half off, not free. And my wife married me,
Okay.
so how fucking smart can she actually be? Let's be honest. Let's be honest. It's not a good future for her either.
You were smart.
All right, well, let's talk about some layoffs in tech. Despite a series of job strength in tech.
There you
Despite a series of high-profile layoffs in big tech over the past year, the jobs outlook in the sector has held fairly strong, TechCrunch reports. It notes that the overall July jobs report was, quote, more than decent for a supposedly slowing economy, end quote, with unemployment at 3.6% nationally. But zooming in on tech shows a sector with unemployment now back under 2% based on CompTIA research. The number of digital job openings is still growing too, though at a slower pace compared to last year. Chad, your take on the consistently strong job market for techies.
The tech industry isn't only about calling for tech companies, right? The trucking company or the trucking industry needs tech people. Education, communication, retail, entertainment, healthcare, financial services, yada, yada, yada. All those industries need tech people, right? So this is always going to be strong, and it should continue to be strong. Then add the CHIPS Act into the equation, as we talked about last week. Mm-hmm. We don't have enough talent for the jobs the government is creating. Yes, the U.S. government is creating jobs, and corporate America is falling flat on their face again. That's the thing. Degrees, both the tech and the degree examples demonstrate that in the past, talent acquisition, we weren't really trying to fix the problem and meet the market where it was. We were trying to be lazy and cheat. And when you're lazy and you cheat, you eventually fall flat on your fucking face. We need to invest in our middle schools, our high schools, our community colleges, things that are close. And we need to start creating actual talent pipelines around these tech sector positions. And again, we had a whole pretty much segment last week around chips on this. We have to be able to be smarter in building for the next 10 to 20 to 30 years, instead of, like we do here in the US, we're only thinking quarter to quarter. That's not, we can't continue to live and strive that way.
Yep. By the way, I have a call out to Eric Estrada. He's still on the fence about coming on the show to talk about the CHIPS Act. I think he's confused about what we actually want to talk about. So
I can't wait.
So for years, big tech hoarded the best developers in the world. And companies that wanted great tech talent couldn't afford it, couldn't get access to it because the Googles and the Apples of the world just overpaid and hoarded tech people when money was free. Well, those big tech companies have laid off a lot of tech workers. So companies that couldn't afford those workers a year ago, 2 years ago, suddenly find themselves in a position where, holy shit, these developers that used to work at these big companies now want to work for me. So you can bet your ass that if I get access to this talent and I have stuff I've wanted to build for months or years, I'm going to hire this talent and get this stuff built and grow my company. I think that's what we're seeing now with strength in the tech sector. You mentioned the chip stuff. Cybersecurity remains a big thing. We got solar and batteries and there's so much new stuff that these companies, and you're also talking about startups in AI and environmental businesses for climate change that are coming online, and they're being founded by these same developers that are then turning around and hiring their friends that were at the company and saying, hey, come work for us and get stock and make it big. So the evolution of this is just trickling down to they're being released. This talent pool has been released. They've been freed, and now they're going off and doing their own thing and getting new opportunities.
But we need more.
Yeah, the question is, we don't have enough people for the chips to be made in this country. So we need to lax our immigration rules to let these folks in and let them stay once they get a college degree or get educated in these industries. AI to me is only going to support the growth of more and more of these businesses, because if you need 3 developers instead of 10, or you need 10 instead of 20, AI will support that, but those folks are going to go get jobs to other companies where they're needed, and this will just sort of domino effect. But to me, if you're in the tech sector, I initially thought this is a bad sign for sites that help you find and hire tech folks. But some of this data out of TechCrunch tells me that, geez, there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of runway for talented tech people to get jobs, to start companies. Once the capital starts getting freed, with inflation going down or the borrowing rate going down, like Katie barred the door, there's going to be so many companies get so much money around these ideas and initiatives that it's going to be fun to talk about. And we're going to get a lot of new companies, I'm sure, do some cool stuff in our space as well. All right, Chad, a TikTok user. You've heard of TikTok, right? Yeah. If you're not following us on TikTok, we're putting our shorts from the show up. It's a nice little highlight reel of what's going on. Anyway, a TikTok user, let's call him Tristan, because that's his username, recently criticized McDonald's in a video after he arrived on time for a scheduled job interview. Oh, let's just have a listen and you can decide for yourself.
So here's some tea to spill. I applied at McDonald's in my hometown, and I'll show the receipts of what I have as well. And I had an interview at 11 o'clock. It is now 11:08, and you're thinking, why are you in your car, Tristan? So here's confirmation of text, multiple texts from the recruiter saying, hey, you have an interview, 30-minute interview on August 10th, which is today at 11 a.m. Your interview will be held at this location. Then, hey, again, 10:01. Hey, Tristan, your 30-minute in-person interview will be held at McDonald's in 1 hour, reminding me. This was yesterday telling me that this is happening. All of it following this is the whole thread of the application process, the verification, the interview time, the interview day, how long it's going to be. Oh, there's your email confirmation as well. My McHire alerts, as they call it. It's going to be at Thursday this time at this location. So I go there. I walk up to the front counter at 10:50 and I say, hello, I am here for an interview. Guy looks at me dead in the face and says, no, you don't. And I said, I do. I filled out the application online. He said, no, you don't. No one's here to interview. I was like, I literally filled the application on. Starts handing me a paper application. He said, no, you have to fill the application on paper. And I said, I've been receiving text from the recruiter here. It's supposed to be at 11. So yeah, no one's here to hire you. So hands me a piece of paper, hands me a pen, goes back to work, and like nothing happened. So I'm sitting there like, I shouldn't have to take this because I've had multiple texts and I've had multiple confirmation. I've talked to a physical recruiter about what time this is supposed to be. I set this up with a physical. or a virtually physical person, you know. Talk to the other lady. And she said, yeah, that person that's supposed to interview you is not supposed to be here for another 2 hours. And I was like, they want me to wait for 2 hours?
So some things are really interesting here. He thinks he's actually talking to a recruiter. Like, I think he really thinks a human being. He says virtually, but I know this because my son applied to McDonald's through Paradox and Olivia, and the same process happened. Text messages, schedule, get fired up, your interviews today. And there's apparently a disconnect. I don't know if it's widespread or what.
So
but
what happened with your son? Did when he got there, were they ready?
Yeah, they were ready. I mean, they had. Now I don't know if it's just a guy like, oh shit, yeah, okay, an interview, and we interview everybody, or if it was really on the schedule. Hopefully, it was on the schedule on their Paradox dashboard, and they knew like someone was coming in and who was coming in. So either this McDonald's totally dropped the ball, but anyway, like I was saying, this guy's posts, 400,000 some views, a ton of comments of people saying I same thing. They weren't all McDonald's, of course. Walmart was in there. I think Target, a couple, Domino's maybe. I saw comments on. So we need to get the tech and the humans right with automation and the humans at the location to make sure this stuff doesn't happen, because job seekers think they're talking to real people. And when you're not there, when they show up and you don't show up for 2 hours, like that's bad for everybody. What are your thoughts?
I think it's fairly simple. This is a human problem, period. Number one, from a management problem, being able to actually manage your own fucking calendar when you have a system that's doing all the work for you. And number two, the setup on the front end. Some of these people are setting things up and saying, oh, that's fine. And they're not going back when they're changing their schedules and whatnot. This is a human problem. I mean, literally, it's getting mad at the hammer when you needed a screwdriver in the first fucking place. I mean, these guys, it drives me fucking crazy. So McDonald's, in that case, is more than likely it was a franchise issue. I know that, like, you know, I've heard many individuals who have gone through McDonald's like Cole did, and it was like, boom, it was quick, it was easy, it was streamlined, it was nothing. These are the blips in the radar, which you are correct that are going to get a lot of views, but that could be one location that's a problem in the tens of thousands that are throughout the United States.
Yeah. Technology would be great if it weren't for all the people. I think there's an issue. The worker had no clue either. So like the management at this McDonald's needs to let everyone know, like, hey, we have this computer system that chats with candidates. And if they come in and say, I've applied, like they have through the system, and not hand someone a paper application. Like that's just miserable. You need to educate your people on what the hell is going on. By the way, Chad, have you heard Mark Zuckerberg regularly eats 4,000 calories at McDonald's as part of his new training regimen? Oh yes, here's his diet, Chad. 20 McNuggets, a quarter pounder, large fries, Oreo McFlurry, apple pie, and a couple of the cheeseburgers just for some snacks later. Are you kidding me? What a lightweight. What kind of weak ass is that shit, Chad? That's what I call a snack. We out. We out.
Thank you for listening to, what's it called? A podcast. The Chad. The Cheese. Brilliant. They talk about recruiting. They talk about technology. But most of all, they talk about nothing. Just a lot of shout-outs of people you don't even know, and yet you're listening. It's incredible. And not one word about cheese. Not one. Cheddar, blue, nacho, pepper jack, Swiss. There's so many cheeses, and not one word. So weird. Anywho, be sure to subscribe today on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. That way you won't miss an episode. And while you're at it, visit www.chadcheese.com. Just don't expect to find any recipes for grilled cheese. It's so weird. We out!